House Budget Committee has now advanced President Trump's so-called big, beautiful budget bill after initial concerns from some conservative Republicans over spending cuts. The bill moves one step closer to a floor vote before a Memorial Day deadline, but its path in the Senate still remains unclear. I want to bring in CBS News congressional correspondent Caitlin Huey-Burns, who's on Capitol Hill for us this hour. Caitlin, what changed for Republicans here? I mean, why move forward with this now?
Yeah, Chanel, great to see you. Remember, last Friday, this bill didn't make it out of committee. You had 4 conservative lawmakers vote with Democrats to block it from advancing. They then reconvened last night, and it passed. But because it passed because those 4 conservative lawmakers voted present. And that signaled that, okay, they want the bill to move forward, but they do have some deep, deep reservations with it. Namely, they don't believe the spending cuts in this bill go far enough. But over the weekend, as they were meeting with Speaker Johnson and other Republican leaders, they did secure some concessions. One of them revolves around the sticking point involving Medicaid. In this bill, there's a new work requirement, but that wasn't set to phase in until 2029, after President Trump will have left office. Those hardliners wanted that to be phased in earlier, and they've gotten some commitments that that will be the case. But they still have a lot to work through in terms of deeper cuts that they want to see. So now that this has passed the Budget Committee, it then has to go through the Rules Committee. I know everybody's eyes are glazing over at all this process, but that is where they can add even more changes to this bill before it gets to the floor on Thursday. Bottom line, there is still a lot of work to do before Thursday, and even if it's put to the floor, there's no sure bet it will pass. They can only afford to lose really a couple of votes here.
And so I want to ask Caitlin about how the president may be playing a part in all this, because last week he said he doesn't want to see any grandstanders holding up this bill. Do you have a sense of how involved he may be in the next steps?
Yeah, we know that his team is very involved, and he is going to start applying the pressure because this contains his legislative agenda. He's been able to do so much, Chanel, as you know, through executive order. But in order to get these key items, these key campaign promises that he made, no taxes on tips or overtime pay, for example, making the Trump tax cuts that were passed during his first term permanent, and also funding for a lot of his priorities in terms of the military and immigration enforcement, that all has to be done through Congress. And so he needs this piece of legislation to enact his agenda. So he's going to be applying that political pressure. And he served before as kind of the chief, whip in this regard. But the question I have is what that political pressure can actually do. You have moderate Republicans who aren't as inclined to that, and also conservatives who haven't really, bowed to the president.
So given that dynamic, I mean, can this pass the Senate if it gets there?
Yeah, and that's the big question, Chanel, if it even gets there. And if it does, you've already seen Senate Republicans voice their concern with this bill, saying it needs to go through a lot of changes before they can support it. So even if it passed the Senate, it would still have to go back to the House with those changes. A long way to go. But I will leave you with this, that one Republican Senator, Ron Johnson from Wisconsin, has already equated this to the Titanic. In other words, wow, a sinking ship.
All right, Caitlin, thanks for the update. We appreciate this.